You know, he wanted to finish his first title defense, but he didn't get that, but he looked absolutely fantastic. So what did you think overall of his performance?
He put on a clinic, and I don't know if anybody can finish Chito Vera. I mean, that guy's got a chin like nothing I've ever seen. Ate those 2 knees. Big shots all night. I mean, everybody knows the power that O'Malley has. He ate all those shots, even shots to the body that he took, kicks and punches to the body. Chito Vera is one of the most durable fighters I've ever seen.
Yeah. You talked about the incredible gate tonight. I think they said on the broadcast it was one of the highest gates that didn't involve Conor McGregor. So I guess where does Sean stand in terms of star power for the company and
biggest bantamweight fight of all time? If you based off energy, excitement, gate, and pay-per-view, it's by far the biggest fight ever in the bantamweight division.
Where do you see his ceiling? I mean, our comparisons to Conor McGregor, I know that's a little bit tough. He's one of a kind, but I mean, is he one of the biggest stars we've ever seen?
He's on his way. Yeah, he's on his way. He's the biggest star ever in bantamweight history. We can say that right now.
I want to ask you about Dustin Poirier as well. Obviously, future Hall of Famer, legend, fight of the night. I mean, what did you think of his performance and him at this point in his career?
These are the kind of fights, you know, when you talk about let me think of how to say this. The fights the fight that he took tonight with Benoit. I mean, everybody when the talk first started, and everybody was like, "Ooh, this is a bad fight for Poirier." Blah 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 blah. And then Poirier came out and said, "You know what? I didn't die," and all this other. This is shit that makes you a fucking legend. These are legendary fights. When you go in and you face a guy who is a savage and you know, looks like you can't win this fight, or people think you can't win this fight, and then you go in and do it in spectacular fashion the way that he did tonight. A lot of these fighters get very, you know, you've heard it many times in the past. They want me to lose, or they're trying to make me lose. I heard some nutty shit the other day from somebody that I won't even mention, but we don't determine whether you lose or whether you win. You do. What we try to do is put on the best match-made fight that we can possibly do. And that's why big stars are built in the UFC and legendary fights happen every weekend.
Nice. Last thing for me, given his legendary status and his performance, when it is Tuesday, is he in the conversation for a title shot in his next
Poirier?
Performance? Yeah.
I mean, Poirier, again, like I just said, I just went through that whole, you know, his stock again goes through the roof. At his age, all the things he's accomplished, all the things he's done, look at what he did tonight. And I don't know if you guys are too busy typing or whatever the fuck it is you guys do during fights, but if you stood up during that fight and saw the arena, it was insane. It was insane. People were going nuts. Yeah, Poirier went to a whole nother level tonight with this fight.
Earlier this week, Mike Tyson has been announced a return to boxing. I know in the past you said you didn't want him to fight again. You tried to talk him out of fighting again. Have you spoken to him about this one?
He gets mad when I do this, but Mike's 60, man. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Who gives a shit what I think? It's not my fight. I love Mike Tyson, you know, personally as a friend, and he's one of my favorite athletes of all time. I don't know. Let's see what he can go in there and put together a training camp and come in, and you know, I don't like to see guys fighting it. Be a 31-year age difference during that fight. Just, you know. You guys know what I think of that stuff.
Last one from me. Conor McGregor says he still wants to fight in June, and he also mentioned he wanted to fight Nate Diaz in the Sphere on Mexican Independence Day. Do either of those two interest you?
I'm looking for Mexicans at the Sphere on Mexican Independence Day.
Nate?
Huh?
Nate Diaz.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that fight.
Yeah. Did you see the boxing match last night? Did you talk to Eddie after it?
I did not. I mean, I saw it on social media. Yeah.
What did you make of that finish in the Francis fight?
What do you mean? What did I make?
Yeah,
what did I make of it?
When you saw it, like it was. People are saying it's one of the more violent knockouts in boxing history.
Yeah, I mean, going into the Fury fight, if Fury trained for the fight and didn't show up and, you know, look like he ate Tyson Fury, that's probably the way that fight would have ended too. I mean, listen, the crossover, you know how I feel about crossovers into boxing, and that's how they end, just like that.
Dana, right here to your left. Joanna Jędrzejczyk getting into the UFC Hall of Fame this summer. I saw you guys got to share a moment after the announcement. I guess, what did you guys say to each other, and I guess what does she mean to you in the company?
we both said thank you to each other. She's incredible. I love the first time I ever saw Joanna fight in the UFC. I literally went back and grabbed her and said, "Come out and watch the rest of the fight." We literally sat there all night and watched the rest of the card together. And from that night to tonight, we've become really close friends, and I have so much respect for her. And she not only since when she was here, but when she retired, I mean, she still does so much stuff with us and for us, and she'll be with us for the rest of her life.
What's up, guys?
It's a career full of big wins for you, but man, I guess talk to us about where this ranks and just your feeling after this victory.
Before I answer the question, if Brennan gets purple shorts, I got to get floral. First things first. It feels good, to right the ship, take a chance, fight a guy outside of the top 10 when, I don't even know how many, but my last opponents have been former world champions, huge main events, huge fights, and now got this young guy in his 20s who finished his last 5 opponents representing France, got a lot of momentum behind him and a country behind him, and I'm like, you know what? Let's see if I still got it to fight these young guys, and it feels good, man. It feels good to win. It was a long training camp. It was stressful, had a lot on my back, and it feels good to win.
Yeah. It seemed like in the second round, maybe there was a moment you thought maybe I don't always have to jump the ghillie.
Nope. I never thought that once.
Because it looked like it was there. You were like, maybe we should keep it on the feet. I'm having some success with my hands.
Yeah. Another thing, too, I thought he was going to be a little bit – he was physically strong, but I thought technically – I know he comes from a judo background. I thought his hips and his grip strength was going to be better against the fence. I took myself down every time. When I was on the mat, it was because I jumped guillotines. And you miss all the ones you don't jump, first of all. But I thought he was going to be a little bit tougher with the takedowns against the fence.
Yeah. Last thing for me, you're at a point in your career where you kind of call the shots. You've earned it, right? But, does a title shot, does that matter to you? Is that still the goal, and is that what you would like to see next for yourself, or is it too early to make a call like that?
That's the only reason I'm fighting. When I started fighting was to be the world champion, to be the best in the world, undisputed. But we got to see. I got to get home and see what makes sense with my coaches and my wife and my management and just see what's next. I don't know. But, yeah, that's I've done a lot in the sport. I'm not trying to, brag or be boastful, but I've done a lot in the sport, and I've been fighting for a long time. This was like my 50th or around my, maybe more or right under 50th mixed martial arts fight. And I've done a lot, and I've checked a lot of boxes, but there's one that's still unchecked, and that's being the world champion.
Dustin, I don't know if you heard Dana when he was up here talking about you, but he was saying these are the sort of fights that make you a fucking legend, basically, and that fighting a young and hungry guy is what is important for you. Do you agree with that? Is that why you took this fight? Because you wanted to just be like, well, I know I can compete against these guys who've been around, but this guy might be the new generation. I want to see if I can compete against him. It
was kind of a timing thing in the situation of the lightweight division. There wasn't any big names to fight. I wanted to fight, especially coming off of a loss, and nothing was big that they could put together. But this guy's on a streak and has a lot of momentum. And when they offered it to me, that's why we did it. It just there was nothing else at the time. And then I honor what I do, man. And Eddie Alvarez gave me a shot when he was a former champion, and I was an up and comer. And you have to do it. That's the nature of what we do.
Dustin over here. I know you just fought, but what does a path back to a title look like for you? You think?
Man, it's tough to say. I don't know. The lightweight division has been so murky and not a clear path to anything for anybody. And now it's even more so with Max coming up. Let's say he does beat Gaethje. Does he stay at 55? What's happening? I don't know. I don't know what's next for me. What opponent makes sense? Who's available? There's a lot of questions.
And
I don't know.
I know your focus is on the belt, but a lot of people talk about a potential trilogy with Justin Gaethje, since you guys are 1-on-1, and a lot of people are still kind of waiting on that Nate Diaz fight because it was booked at one point. A lot of people were excited for that. Do you see any of those two fights happening before your career is said and done?
Man, I have no clue. Nate was a fight I always wanted. Gaethje hit me with the Hogan boot, so we might have to do it again. It's tough to say. I don't know.
Sean, congratulations on the victory. I know you didn't necessarily get the finish you wanted, but it was a pretty incredible performance overall. So I'm sure you'll break it down afterwards. But as you sit there, how do you feel about the way you performed tonight?
Yeah, something about not getting the finish that just doesn't sit right with me. It's just like, fuck. But I also haven't watched it, obviously. Once I watch it back, I think I'll be a little bit more excited. But I always want to get that finish.
Yeah. Saw you, obviously, the boot on the foot, a little bit of a limp as you walked out. I guess, do you know what the status is of it right now and when the injury occurred?
No, I think I've had a pretty major surgery on this foot before, so I think it tends to flare up after you kick someone in the head a few times. So I don't think it's anything serious. Hopefully not, but yeah, I think it's just gonna be a little swollen for a few weeks, and we'll be back to work.
Like you said, great performance. I mean, was there anything that surprised you? I know you knew how durable he was and all those things, but I mean, was there anything at all that surprised you that happened in there?
No, not at all. I mean, I knew I was better than this guy for 3.5 years. I knew the first fight was a fluke. And I proved that, so it felt good.
At the end of the fight, you kind of sat down against the cage. I was curious if that was physical because of the foot or if there was something emotional, just exhaustion after 25 minutes. What was going on there?
Fuck, just hit me with a nice body shot. Tim told me, like, don't sit. You don't need you're winning the fight. You don't need to sit there. But I wanted that finish so bad. I thought I could sit in the pocket and fucking trade. And he hit me with a nice body shot, and I just was like, all right, he whooped his ass. I'm going to sit down and chillax for a little bit.
Fair enough. Last thing for me, I mean, you said it in the cage. You'd like to see Ilia Topuria. He's a scary guy. It'd be fun. But you said, hey, Merab, if that's the fight everybody wants, we'll do that one too. So how do you make that decision? How do you allow that choice to be made?
It's nice having options. It's hard to make a decision right after the fight. We'll see, how it plays out. Talk to the UFC, talk to Hunter, Dana, and, we'll see what happens.
Sean, obviously you always took that first loss to Cheeto kind of like in good nature and always said you're undefeated and stuff. But was there something on your mind about, like, I want to prove to everyone that I am actually just way better than this guy?
A little bit. I mean, I literally, truly always knew I was better than him. It never bothered me once that fight played out like that. I mean, look where I was at, considering I played out like that, beat Thomas Almeida in one of the most, beautiful performances I ever had. So, that fight never bothered me. I try not to care what people think, and I knew I was better than him, and it took a little 3.5 years to go and prove that, and I did.
This is one of the largest, if not the largest, non-McGregor gates for a UFC pay-per-view. So what do you make of like another thing like that on your belt?
Yeah, I think I'm creeping up there. I'm getting up there. At the end of the day, UFC doesn't need anyone. They're gonna find stars. They're gonna make put on crazy fights regardless. But I think I'm working my way up to one of the biggest names in the sport.
One of your teammates, Kyler Phillips, he got a big win too. And we asked him, like, would it be an issue? Would it be like Merab and Aljo, like, with you guys not fight? And he says, we'll fight. We'll make money. Mario Bautista you threw in there too. So do you have to have that conversation with your teammates, or is it just like we'll have to fight someday?
I don't know. We'll go with the flow if it happens. I feel like I could move up to 45. I feel like I'm going to get to a point to where I don't even need the belt. I'm bigger than the belt. I have the belt. I'm going to fight, I'll be main event at fucking 140, at 142.5 just for fucking fun. I can, I'm getting to that point. So the belt's cool, but, once you get to a certain point, you can main event and just kind of fight, Look, Conor was 45-pound champ fighting at 170, fighting Nate. Like, I want to get there.
And last one for me, we saw the video clip of kind of Merab walking up to you when you were leaving. Did you guys say anything?
I don't know, like, if I got hit in the head too. I was like, what the fuck? Who is this random guy talking to me? I was like, who the fuck? And then I realized it was Merab, and then it was his buddy was yelling or something. But yeah, I mean that fight very well could happen next.
Over here, what about the Ilia Topuria fight calls your attention? Is it making history, that second belt? Is it something specifically about him, the undefeated? What is it about him that calls your attention?
Yeah, I mean, it's moving up to 45, that's champ versus champ, automatically is huge. Just knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, that's massive. It's just an exciting fight. I'm here for massive fights, and that's what I want to be a part of. So if that's it, sweet. If Merab's it, sweet. I like having options.
And you prefer Ilia over Merab?
Not necessarily. I mean, I guess if it looks, technically I'm not defending a belt, so I don't know about pay-per-view. I would have to talk to the UFC. I don't think that would be an issue. I've always been able to work out something with the UFC. So, if that's the case, that might be a bigger fight. But again, we'll talk and figure it out.
And how would you think a fight with Ilia would go?
I think a fight with anybody, I win by knockout. Obviously, I didn't knock Cheeto out, but, don't lose confidence from that. Cheeto's, so tough. But, yeah, I believe I could put Ilia's lights out.
Yeah. And lastly, I know you don't count it, but, technically you guys are one-on-one. Do you see a trilogy happening in the future, or do you feel like you're done with Chito for the rest of your career?
Yeah, no, the Sugar State Athletic Commission, they said if I win this fight that they'll take that first fight away. So I'm officially undefeated again, and it feels really good. So we're just 1-0 right now.